Good morning, everyone. This is a strange way for us to be meeting. It's great to be with you all, although we're doing it virtually. I thought I'd certainly prefer to be able to be with all of you in person. Being with the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO is like going home. I know, and I suspect you all feel the same way. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership during an unprecedented crisis for American workers and American families. And Mr. President, I want to thank you for the entire the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO, your entire executive board, for everything that you do, you continue to do, and you've done so much, not only for Pennsylvania labor, but for labor nationally, and for bringing us together today as well. I know you heard from some other important voices today, like my friend Randy Weingarten of the AFT, but there's no better friend I have than Bobby Casey. We go back a long way. We grew up in a neighborhood in Scranton that were literally 4 blocks away from one another. Same parish, same schools, although he went to Scranton Prep. I'd left by that time. I was doing a virtual, almost the same kind of place I went to in Claymont, Delaware, a little steel town. But Bobby, I don't know whether you're still there, but you're a great friend and you have a wonderful family, and I love your mother. She's incredible. But at any rate, Bobby, you're also fighting hard to make sure that this Trump administration can't ignore the pain being felt every day across America, all across this country. Folks, I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to be an incredibly hard week for the country. We've already lost thousands of Americans to this pandemic, and we're going to lose, I'm afraid, many more in the days ahead. Dr. Fauci, the one consistent voice throughout this administration, and the public health experts are issuing dire warnings. The Surgeon General has described this as the Pearl Harbor moment, and all of us are going to be pushed to our limits. None more than those on the front line, our healthcare workers, our first responders, our essential workers, who literally are carrying our nation on their backs like labor has always done through this crisis. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. My heart goes out to each and every individual who's suffering because of this virus. The families who are grieving lost loved ones, the scared children of those frontline healthcare workers whose parents are working to save so many lives. And those workers have had their hours slashed, they're lost their jobs entirely. Some of them they don't know how long they're going to make ends meet. And we're being tested like never before. I mean, like never before. But I know that we're going to come through it. The American people have always led this country and led this country all the way through every crisis we've had. Ordinary people, given an opportunity, are capable of accomplishing extraordinary things. I've been saying this my whole life, but in the face of COVID-19, we're seeing an incredible American grit and spirit shine through from every quarter. We're seeing what solidarity means when you put it into action. We're seeing something else too. We're seeing without a doubt how important labor unions are to this country. Labor unions, especially in times of crisis. Who are the workers on the front lines of our national response? The doctors, the nurses, the firefighters, the EMTs, the transit workers, the food service professionals, the grocery store clerks, and stackers. They can focus on doing their job because their union is looking out for their needs, fighting for protective gear like masks and gloves, pushing for sanitary conditions, pushing for appropriate cleaning protocols, hand washing, making sure there are options for paid leave. The rest of us, those of us who are staying home to try to slow the spread of this virus, we owe them as well. We owe all of you who are out there, though, all of you in the front lines, all of you. We owe the public employee union members more than we can pay them back. Who are the people who stepped up to make sure unemployment checks get out the door in Pennsylvania for Pennsylvania workers? It's still underway. We're behind the curve, but as quickly as possible, they're moving. We owe the manufacturing unions that are demanding that we produce the PPE, the medical equipment, and the doctors and nurses who are needed in the front lines so desperately. We owe the airline unions and the service unions that fought to make sure Congress didn't bail out large corporations without first ensuring they take care of their workers. And we need to make sure that the inspector general that's in that legislation is an inspector general, holds these big corporations accountable. It's about the workers. It's about the workers, and not only the workers, but the airline contractors, like food and service and cleaning contractors. You know, we owe all of our unions because you continue, as you always have, advocating for basic rights and needs of every worker, unionized or not. We wouldn't have anything we have without unions. For paid sick leave, access to unemployment insurance, safe and healthy workplaces, including personal protective equipment that will keep all of us safe, and at least a $15 minimum wage. You fought for everything, not only for your union, but for people who are just need help. So many of our lowest paid workers have stepped up during this crisis, and every American seeing them in action should support the right of those folks to be paid a living wage. As President Trump says, quote, one job should be enough. These folks are putting themselves on the line every day, sacrificing so damn much, stepping up under dire circumstances to do their job, not for themselves, for all of us. They're essential workers in times of crisis and beyond, and they deserve not only to be paid fairly, but they deserve our respect. They deserve a safe workplace and a fair pay. That's why it's vital we make it easier for workers to join a union. For unions to organize and bargain collectively is the only counterweight we have. To have a National Labor Relations Board that actually is on the side of workers. Our frontline workers and essential workers are giving us their all. They deserve to have your government work as hard as they possibly can for all of you, as you protect the rest of us. We need the government to establish and enforce health and safety standards for workers. It's a vital role for OSHA. We need more inspectors. We need them inspecting workplaces and holding employers accountable during this crisis and every day. That's what we did in our administration during the H1N1 virus outbreak. Early in the Obama-Biden administration, we had OSHA and the CDC issue detailed guidelines of how businesses should protect their workers. And we enforced those guidelines. Then we worked for years to prepare a new permanent OSHA standard on infectious disease. When we left office in 2017, it was ready to be proposed. But instead of taking action to protect workers against future pandemics, the Trump administration shelved it. Now, the AFL-CIO is having to fight to get Congress to force the Trump administration to issue an emergency temporary standard requiring all employers to protect against infectious disease. That shouldn't be a fight. It's basic. In the Biden administration, that standard already would be in place. I've said it many times. The coronavirus is not Donald Trump's fault, but he does bear responsibility for our response and taking his duty seriously. It's about doing the job as a president. He's failing. His failings and his delays continue. We continue to see it. And it's causing real pain for so many Americans. Americans should be leading the world, marshaling a coordinated global response, both on the public health and on economic fronts, giving our skilled union members what they need to manufacture the equipment, supplies, and medicines we need now so we can take care of our people here at home and support the needs of vulnerable populations around the world. Unfortunately, President Trump is still not moving very quickly. Not quickly enough, I should say, that from my perspective. He's not prioritizing workers. He's not getting out of the way and let the scientists make the judgments. He's not using all the authority he has under the federal law to make sure healthcare workers are getting equipped and the supplies they need. He's not directing OSHA to enforce the law to protect workers from infectious disease. He's not helping governors who are forced to bid against one another and the federal government to get what they need. Trump likes to say he's a wartime president. Well, he needs to step up and act like it. I've offered him a 10-point plan I call it the Make Work Checklist. It's what the Trump administration needs to do to make sure that that $2 trillion in the CARES Act that Congress passed actually gets relief into the hands of as many American workers as possible, as quickly as possible. Secondly, making sure that unemployment checks get out on time and in full. Third, pushing banks to get those government-backed small business loans out the door to every eligible small business so they can keep the workers on the payroll. Policing the way large corporations use their funds that they've received to pay workers and their benefits. Opening up, this is really important, opening up enrollment for Obamacare so the folks who are not covered like a lot of you are, thank God, who need insurance right now have a chance to get it. The president should be laser focused on keeping as many people employed as possible and making workers financially whole so that we weather this crisis, come back stronger as a nation, like we always have in the past. Because once we break the infection curve and stem this public health crisis, we're going to face an immense job of rebuilding this economy. But we can do it. We can do it. We can't just return to an unfair and unequal economy that's stacked against American workers. I've been saying all throughout this campaign, Wall Street and the CEOs didn't build this country. The middle class did. And the middle class was built by unions. Unions built the middle class. And working families and unions will be the drivers of our success once again when we get through this. Together, we'll make sure that everyone has a chance to build a solid middle-class life for themselves and for their families in the 21st century economy. You know, we know what that needs to look like. This will be our chance to make it real. Invest in our infrastructure, provide greater access to education and job training, affordably, raising wages to protect workers and their overtime pay, ensuring access to universal health care while guaranteeing that unions and union members can keep their current insurance if they choose, protecting pension plans, and above all, more union members, more unions, more collective bargaining everywhere in America, in the private sector, in the public sector, in the federal government. Unions are the reason why so many workers right now have a fair wage, health insurance, retirement security, safe workplaces, paid sick leave, family leave. You won it at the bargaining table. You have a voice in your workplace. And I promise you, I give you my word, I will fight alongside you to make sure every worker in America has the same protections, not just in time of crisis, but permanently. Look, you all know me pretty well. I promise you, if I'm elected president in November, no one will fight harder for you, your families, and your communities. I want to say again, unions, you know, some of you heard me say this before. My dad used to say the only way to deal with abuse of power is with power. You are the only power we have to take on corporate America that oversteps its bounds. You know, the Fair Labor Standards Act didn't say it's all right to have unions. It said the government should promote unions, promote unions, promote unions. And I want to promise you, that's what I'm going to do. Not just support unions, but promote formation of more unions. Take on those corporations that are spending $1 billion a year to make it difficult to organize, violating the law. So much to say, but I promise you, I'm not going to talk anymore. I know you've had a lot of speakers. But again, Mr. President, thank you very much for having me. You really are the reason why we're going to get through this. And I want to thank you for supporting our frontline workers. Thank you for your spirit of solidarity, having each other's backs. And know that I'll have your back, I promise you. If there's anything I can do to be helpful in the coming days or months, please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope that each one of you and your families are staying safe and healthy in these difficult days. I'm thinking about you all. We need you more than we ever did. And Mr. President, if there's anything I can do, you know, you get me directly. I promise you, I'll do whatever I can. And I know I'm locked in a basement like a lot of you are. But again, I want to thank you. I owe my career to you. The country owes its prosperity to you. And I promise you, if I'm your president, I'm going to fight like hell to see your strength grows. I promise. Thank you, and stay safe, folks. Stay safe. God love you all. Thanks.